The NFL has been around for a long time, and over the years, we've seen some extremely bizarre occurrences that genuinely question reality. So in this video, we're going to take a look at some of the weirdest NFL anomalies that simply can't be explained. The anomalies only get weirder and weirder as the video goes on, so stick around to the end for some that you probably never even knew happened. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop a like and subscribe if you're new. Subscribe takes just a second and it really helps me out. Thank you, and let's get started. Let's start off simple with the wide receiver. Everybody knows about the wide receiver. Their job is to catch passes from the quarterback. They're usually the ones with the most receiving yards and touchdowns in any given season. But for the 2014 Kansas City Chiefs, things were very different, as throughout the entire season, not a single wide receiver caught a touchdown pass for the Chiefs. All 18 of Alex Smith's touchdown passes that season went to tight ends, running backs, and one to a fullback. It was the first time in the 16-game era that this occurred, and the first time overall since the 1964 New York Giants, back when passing wasn't nearly as much of a focal point as it is today. In fact, Dwayne Bowie was the only receiver to even cross 300 receiving yards, so as a whole, the Chiefs receivers really didn't do anything this season. How they managed to go an entire year with 0 wide receiver touchdowns is beyond me, but it certainly is a fun stat to look back on. Let's stick with the wide receivers for this next one, but hone in on one specific player, Larry Fitzgerald, and Cardinals fans probably already know where this is going. Fitzgerald is widely regarded as one of the most sure-handed, reliable receivers of all time, but the true nature of his reliability cannot be overstated. Despite playing wide receiver, Fitzgerald finished his 17-game career with more tackles than drop passes, 41-29, and this of course was with him getting over 2,000 targets. 41 tackles by itself was impressive, but the fact that an offensive player whose job it is to catch passes had more tackles than drops is just ridiculous. A few days ago, Fitzgerald was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and this statistical anomaly is just one of the many reasons why. For this next anomaly, I want you to think about Lions vs Texans 2024. That was a weird game. Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions, but the Lions still won. Winning a football game despite your team throwing 5 interceptions almost never happens, unless you're the 1962 Houston Oilers, who played 5 separate games where their QBs threw 5 or more interceptions, and they won all 5 of them. This came during George Blanda's 42 interception season, another anomaly by itself, but I've already talked about Blanda before, and quite frankly, this anomaly is way more interesting. Weeks 1 and 4 against the Buffalo Bills, Week 11 against the Boston Patriots, Week 12 against the San Diego Chargers, and Week 13 against the Denver Broncos were the 5 games that the Oilers miraculously won. The 1962 Oilers are, as a whole, one of the weirdest teams of all time, but this particular feat tops everything else. Everybody remembers the 1990 to 1993 Buffalo Bills, the team that lost 4 Super Bowls in a row, and that by itself is an anomaly, but not what I want to talk about. Instead, I want to focus on one particular player on the Bills roster, backup quarterback Gale Gilbert, because not only did Gale Gilbert lose 4 Super Bowls in a row along with the rest of the Buffalo Bills, but in 1994 lost a 5th straight Super Bowl as the backup of the San Diego Chargers, causing him to be the only player in NFL history to be on 5 consecutive Super Bowl losing teams, the most ever. The only Super Bowl Gilbert actually played in was that 5th one in 1994, but still, losing 5 consecutive Super Bowls is absolutely insane, and considering how much we discussed the Bills' 4 straight Super Bowl losses, Gilbert's 5 straight is something that just isn't talked about enough. I want to pack the 5th and 6th anomaly into one section because they are very similar but extremely weird. They both have to do with scoring, specifically 4 games in 1 week ending with the exact same score. This bizarre occurrence has only happened twice. We'll start in week 9 of 2022 where 4 separate games ended with a final score of 20-17. Chargers Falcons, Bills Jets, Vikings Commanders, and Titans Chiefs. 20-17 is the most common score ever, so if this was to occur, it makes sense that 20-17 would be the final score, but it's still insane nonetheless. The only other time this occurred was way back in week 2 of 1924, where 4 games finished with a final score of 3-0. Green Bay Packers versus Chicago Cardinals, Kansas City Blues versus Milwaukee Badgers, Duluth Kellys versus Minneapolis Marines, and Akron Pros versus Rochester Jeffersons. I mean, this is so far back that we can't even see player stats, only who kicked the game-winning field goal, like Hall of Famer Patty Driscoll. 4 games ending with the same score in 1 week is such a rare occurrence that there were probably hundreds of millions, if not billions of people that were born, lived their entire life, and then died without ever seeing this happen. And who knows if it will ever happen again. Next up, let's talk about one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, Steve Young. Young's career is very well documented. He's a 3-time Super Bowl champion and a Hall of Famer. But amazingly, despite throwing the ball over 4,000 times in his career, Young never took a single snap from shotgun in the entirety of that NFL career. Head coach Bill Walsh famously hated the shotgun formation, believing it ruined the quarterback's timing and rhythm, so he basically never ran it. However, things obviously worked out as Bill Walsh is one of the greatest coaches of all time and his offenses were very effective. Nowadays, quarterbacks take shotgun snaps around 60 to 70% of the time, so it's pretty insane that one of the greatest QBs ever didn't take a single snap from the offensive formation that would go on to become a staple of the NFL. Sticking with QBs, let's take a look at one of the most insane coincidences the NFL has ever seen. I'm of course talking about Joe Theismann and Alex Smith's famous leg injuries, and the parallels between the two are insane. Both quarterbacks played for the Washington Redskins in the Redskins' home stadium. Both quarterbacks suffered a broken right tibia and fibula. Both injuries occurred on November 18th, exactly 33 years apart. Both games ended in a final score of 23-21. Both QBs were sacked by a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, and both QBs were missing their Pro Bowl left tackle. And on top of all that, Joe Theismann was actually in attendance when Alex Smith suffered his injury. The ending result of the injuries were different for each player. Theismann's career permanently ended while Smith was able to battle back and play again in 2020. But this is still one of the most famous coincidences in NFL history and is absolutely insane to look back on. Let's do one more quarterback one because this was something I found truly fascinating. How does one become an NFL starter? Well, they usually play well enough in college to get drafted and potentially earn a starting job. Even undrafted players were still good in college, and some go on to have great NFL careers. Pretty much every starter, backup, and even third stringer played many games at the collegiate level. That's why Matt Cassell's story is so fascinating, because despite having a 14-year NFL career and starting 81 games, Cassell never started a single game in college. He is the only QB in NFL history to start a game without ever starting in college. Cassell backed up Heisman Trophy winners Carson Palmer and Matt Leinart at USC, and only attempted 33 passes in 4 seasons. However, he impressed scouts enough at his pro day to be drafted in the 7th round by the New England Patriots, and eventually started numerous games for the Pats, Chiefs, and Vikings, even being selected to the Pro Bowl in 2020. There have been other notable NFL players that have had successful careers without starting in college, but Cassell is the only example of a quarterback to do so, which makes it all the more impressive and all the more of an anomaly that probably will never be replicated again. Final anomaly of this video, let's talk about one of the most unique single games in NFL history, Broncos Chargers 1985. What's so interesting about this game is that it's the only game ever where both the very first and very last touches of the game resulted in touchdowns. Gary Anderson of the Chargers took the opening kickoff 98 yards for a touchdown, and on the final play in overtime, Louis Wright of the Broncos took a blocked field goal 60 yards back for a touchdown, resulting in a 30-24 Denver victory. Opening kickoff touchdowns are nothing new, and game-winning overtime touchdowns are also nothing new, but for both to happen in the exact same game is extremely unlikely, and there's a reason it's only happened once. Considering the new kickoff rules that have been implemented recently to entice more kickoff returns, it isn't insane to think that this could happen again, but as of right now, it's a true one-of-a-kind scenario. But that's it. Those are some of the weirdest anomalies in NFL history. Did you know about any of these? Which one was your favorite? What are some other NFL anomalies that you know? Comment down below. There are plenty of other insane anomalies and coincidences that have occurred throughout the NFL's past, so if you want a part 2, let me know and I'll make it happen. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop a like and subscribe if you're new, and that's it for me. See ya!